What's up, everybody? This is a very quick guide on how to download and install Path of Building for Path of Exile 2. So you can just go to Google, right, your search engine, or go to the bar here and then type in Path of Building 2, POE 2. And what we're looking for is the GitHub. That's this link. This is a repository for code, basically, and this is where you want to download it from. So there you go, this page right now, it's release 0.4.1, and this is where you can download it from. Let's quickly have a look at this, because what you can see is that there's constantly updates, new releases, and they're working on a lot of things, a lot of updates. And that's basically because Path of Exile 2 is quite new. They're still working on this version, and there's still a lot of things that need to be changed and updated. So it's going to take a while for the full version to be online. So it's probably wise to re-download it every now and then. What we want to download here is the exe file. So this is the one. You can also download the zip file if you want, but I prefer the exe file. I trust the developer. And so we're going to wait until download finishes. And then we will go to our downloads and install this. All right, so the download is now finished. Let's go to our downloads here. And there we are. We're just going to double click on the exe file and it should automatically start up. There we go. We're going to run this anyway. Click next. Agree. And we're just going to install in the designated folder. You can install it anywhere you like. Oh, I already had it. This was for a video anyway. I'm going to click OK, which means that it's going to delete the contents and it's going to reinstall this. Here we go. We want to run it on completion, and I'm going to create a desktop shortcut so I can find it later easily. Finish, and now it should automatically start up. And there you go, that's it. That is very quick and dirty how to download and install it. It's super simple, and you probably want to do this every now and then given the updates. Alright, so there we have it. This is Path of Building. I'm going to give you a very quick and simple guide on what you see here, especially useful if you don't have any experience with this. It's going to be not a full guide, that's going to take a lot more time and it deserves its own video. But let's just have a look here. What you see here in front of you, this is the skill tree, right? So, this is the in-game skill tree. Let's say you're a ranger, that's fine, but if you play, for example, a sorcerer, you go to the top here and you select sorceress. Here you can select your ascendancy, for example, a Stormweaver, and that determines the starting position in this skill tree. So if you've selected that, you can zoom in, then you can, let's say, assign points that you've got in your skill tree. There we go, intelligence, allocate, and that way you can build up your tree for your character. Now, what's also very relevant here on the left, there's also an overview screen of all the current stats of your character. This will never go away. It doesn't matter in which tab you are. And this is going to reflect all the values of the character as it is right now based on the items and the skill tree that you've got in Path of Building. So for example, if you try a different skill tree, you want to see if it gives you more or less damage, and that will be reflected here in the left. The same goes for other important factors like defense, resistances, etc. Also, you can, for example, try on different items in the item panel here in the top left, and that will also be reflected in these stats here on the left. So that's the basic screen where you start. Now let's have a closer look at these menus here in the top left. And the top left is the import-export build. This is basically where you either export your own created build, or you can import builds from other creators that you can have a look at here. It's going to be very common in the future when creators have build guides that they're going to give you the POE link. You're going to be importing it here, you're going to paste it in there and import it, and this is basically going to be the tool that you're going to use to follow the build. If you want to give it a try, there's a POE link in the description of this video. You can copy paste that and import it right here, and then you can have a look at one of my characters. The next panel here is the notes section. This is going to be very useful because in build guides there will be information here on what items maybe to trade for, how to level the build, certain breakpoints, etc. It's always good to look here because there could be many important things that you'd like to know about the build. The next panel that we've got here is the configuration panel. This is a bit complicated, but let's just say it's kind of the secret sauce behind the values that we've got here. Now, what we see here is that the damage that you see here on the left is calculated based on a Guardian / Pinnacle boss of level 84, so that's the max level. Obviously, this boss has certain defenses like 50 resistance for every element, certain amount of base armor, etc. And these are taken into account when calculating the damage. You can change this. For example, you can select a standard boss which has less resistance, and in return your damage increases. But mostly when we talk about DPS for a build, we're talking about pinnacle bosses, so I would just leave it like that. The next panel here on the left is the skill tree. We click on that, we see the skill tree of one of my current characters, level 93 Stormweaver. And basically what you can do here is you can assign different skill points and see here on the left what the effect would be on your build. One thing, for example, is you can hover over a skill point and see what the effect would be on your build. Imagine I would level 3 levels and I get 3 more skill points. I can hover over this skill point and I can see here in green what the difference would be on my DPS. Anyway, there's a lot more here and just feel free to explore. The next panel here is the skill panel. This is where you add your skills. So for example, for me, it's Spark. And then you can add your support gems in here, add your quality, level, etc. And all of these values will be reflected here in the left in the calculations. Then we're going to go to the item panel. Now, this is very interesting. These are all the items that I have in my build. You can either craft an item yourself, right? For example, a rare amulet, gold amulet, you create it, and then you can select all the prefixes and suffixes and the values here yourself. Or what you can do in this case, what I've done, is you can go into game, you can go to your character, and you can just copy and paste the items that you've got here into your build. So for example, in this case, I have a staff on my second weapon set. I can press Ctrl+C to copy this. Then we go back to POE. I'm gonna cancel that. And then we press Ctrl and V. And then we'll add the item here. And then we can add it to the build. There you go. It should show up somewhere here. Yeah, there we go at the bottom. And then you can, for example, assign it to, a weapon set. What we've got here is weapon set 2. Yeah, we didn't have a weapon selected yet, so then we can just put that in there. And there you go. This is just where you can manage all your items. You get the idea. By the way, if you like these kind of short guides, check out my channel. I've got a couple other good ones, very short and informative. For example, this one here on how to check out the value of any item you find in game. Very useful to have. And then this one is a quick instruction on how to download and set up a loot filter. It's very useful if you want to, for example, just set it and forget it, never have to worry about it again. I thought that might be helpful. Anyways, let's get back to path of building. Now, the last relevant panel for most people is the calculations panel here. If we click on that, we see a lot of numbers and a lot of tables. What is this? This is basically how all these values here on the left are calculated. For example, you want to know how do we get a 35k hit DPS? Well, you can actually see that here. This is how it's calculated. For example, what are the total amount of increased damage modifiers and where did they come from? The more modifiers, what's the range of hit damage for your skill, etc. Have a look at this. It's very, very big. There's a lot of information here. You can hover over everything and see how it's calculated. For example, here you can see the mana cost for your main skill, the mana per second, etc. There's defense information. There's damage taken information. There's a lot of stuff here. Anyways, I'm going to go more into depth about this in another guide. But for now, hopefully I've given you a basic idea of what you can do with path of building and what you can find there. I would just say, give it a try. Put maybe your build in there for one of your characters and play around with it and see what you've got. If you've got any specific questions about things that you can do with path of building, put them in the comments and I'll see if I can find an answer. Anyway, that's it. Have a good night and see you later, gamers.